All right, well, wander, part one. Would you look at that? Would you just look at it? Would you just look at it? Sometimes you just got to look at it. Wander is a series about worship. And worship is less about the how that we worship. It's less about the songs we sing and the lights we bring or how close we are to being on key or beat or whether we rhyme or bow or clap or cry. That's not what worship is. I believe worship has been reduced to music. And worship is so much more than music. Worship is so much more. It's about adoring and being in wonder of who He is. Worship is about the why. Someone say the why. Worship is about the why. Worship is about the wow. In fact, the way you spell worship is W-O-W. Wow. Wow. Wow, would you look at that? Wow. When I look in the Bible, a lot of times I'll read the Bible, I'll be like, wow. Wow, would you just look at it? Would you look at it? I feel like every week I come up here and I'm like, guys, would you look at it? Just look at it. Would you just look at it? Wow, wow, look at it. Because it's so amazing. And to me, it never gets old. And sometimes we can look at things from the Bible and it's just like, I already know that story. But I'm like, would you look at it? But would you look at it? Wow. It's so amazing. Someone say, would you look at it? Would you just say, wow? That's good. That's good. Worship is about the why. Worship is about the wow. It's not the what, not what song. It's about the wow. Wander, according to the dictionary, is a feeling of surprise mingled with admiration caused by something beautiful, something unexpected, something unfamiliar, or something inexplicable. That is wander. And that's why we wanted to name this series Wander. We wanted to name it that because God is, I'm surprised all the time with this, and it's mingled with that admiration of, wow, God, caused by something, God, who is beautiful. He does things that are unexpected, unfamiliar sometimes, unexplicable. Why would you do the things that you do? And tonight we're looking at Malchus. We're gonna be following three people through this series. The first one is, and we're gonna be following different people on the way to the cross. Tonight we're gonna be following Malchus. Ravi Zacharias, we talked about this last semester, he wrote an article about how the average child gasps in wonder 12 times a day. Wow, wow. Have you lost your sense of wonder? The great poet once said, I hope you never lose your sense of wonder. Give the heavens above more than just a passing glance, and when you have the choice to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance. Wow. She says, I hope you never lose your sense of wonder. As we get older and as things happen to us and we get jaded and all those things happen, we begin to lose our sense of wonder. Tonight I ask you, what could make you dance? What could make you say, wow? What would you look at that? What would make you do that? Something full of wonder, perhaps? Something wonderful? Isaiah 9:6 says, for unto us as a child is born. That's definitely unexpected. That's new. To us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful, full of wonder, Counselor. He's a great listener. He asks good questions. He's a great counselor. Mighty God. He's not weak. He's got all the power of the universe at his disposal. Everlasting Father, meaning he doesn't quit. And he's a father to us, and he's the Prince of what? Wow. When I first saw The Passion in 2003, I always thought that it was, before that I thought it was the Romans who came and took Jesus. Who all thought that? It was the Romans who came and got Jesus. Am I the only idiot out here? Or is it just a bunch of half? Okay, right? I was thinking it was the Roman soldiers. Guess what? I didn't know a lot about the political structure, and I don't got time to go into the depths of the political structure, but there's some really interesting things going on here between Herod and Pilate and the Sanhedrin and all this stuff that you're like, I don't know what that means. Man, I wish I had time to unpack it because it would be a political drama like House of Cards would have nothing on this. The Crown would have nothing on this. This thing has some intrigue and some crazy things going on behind the scenes that are hard to even understand. But who is Malchus? Let's start looking at the structure of Rome. When Rome would conquer an area, you can't occupy something. If you're an empire, you can't occupy every town and have like a soldier there to take care of every problem that's going to happen. So what you have to do when you conquer a territory is you have to conquer territory, make friends with the leaders, say, you know what, I'll let you still lead, I'll let you still do your thing as long as you pay your taxes and you to us, and if there's anything that we say, what we say goes, but I'll let you kind of do your own thing a little bit, but you got to follow our rules. And those people say, okay, and that's why we have Rome here. This is Pilate up here, or just Wander is fine too. The word, that's Pilate. And Pilate's in a really crazy predicament. We'll go into that a little bit more in the next few weeks. But he's in a really bad place right now. He's not just this mean guy who's just, I don't care about anybody, I want to kill everybody. Pilate actually doesn't want to kill Jesus. The next picture is a picture of Herod, who has a crazy wig on. And it's not bad costuming. He was just, he was drunk whenever they were making this scene. And Herod typically would have been the king of Judea, but because Rome had taken over, he became more of a figurehead. The people still look at him. It's kind of like if you look at England right now. The king doesn't really have a lot of power, or the queen doesn't have a lot of power. It's really the parliament. Well, the parliament would be Rome. They're the ones actually making the decisions, but people still look to the king for all kinds of things. And so he's kind of doing his own thing, getting drunk and sleeping with the ladies and all this kind of stuff. But he's just a figurehead. The next one, the real power holders, the real stakeholders in Judea are the Pharisees. This is Caiaphas. He's the chief priest. These guys are like, they're running by the law, it's old Judaism and stuff like that. So Pilate has this really interesting tension between the high priest, the Sanhedrin, and them. If he lets them go on too long doing their own thing, then they'll see that there's lawlessness, they'll try to take over Rome. If he comes down too hard on them, they'll try to take over Rome. And if there's any kind of rebellions that keep coming up, then his superiors up there, you might have heard of the name Caesar, might say, hey, you don't know what you're doing, I'm going to put somebody else in your spot. By the way, he's out in Judea, which is like the armpit of the world. If you have screwed up a lot and you've been demoted a lot, you end up in Judea where Pilate ends up. And he's trying to work with these guys. And he's like, guys, just work with me here. You can't kill this guy. This guy didn't do anything. He's just crazy. That's from Pilate's point of view. The Sanhedrin, they're like, no, this guy's saying he's God. This deserves death according to our culture and traditions. And if you want to make us all mad and make us like storm the castle, and then Pilate's like, if you storm the castle, then I got a bunch of Roman soldiers that will stand off with you. And so there's this really uneasy tension going on right here. And it's all over this matchbox of Jesus himself. You guys still with me? Okay, so there's a lot of stuff going on here. Now, the Pharisees, Caiaphas, they have the baddest dudes, the Navy SEALs of the Hebrew people that know Krav Maga, which is one of the most, violent of the martial arts, where you're breaking bones with every hit. These guys, let's go and put those up there. That's those dudes that are bringing Jesus in. And they got different costumes. I'm like, those aren't Roman soldiers. I did a little research back in 2003 and realized these are the temple guards. You do not screw around in the temple. You are, they had high rules for all this. Well, Jesus, to be God, that really ticks them off. They're okay with him being a prophet, but not God. And they drag him in to this kangaroo court because they can't just bring him straight to Pilate, because if they bring him straight to Pilate will be like, he didn't do anything. So in the middle of the night, whenever the Romans are asleep, basically, and few are on watch, they go out, they find Jesus, they take him in, and they have this kangaroo court where they try to catch him in a lie or catch him saying something that would be worthy, then say, we got him. Let's take him to Pilate. Now Pilate will kill him. And that's how we end up with this first little piece. And one of these guards, his name is Malchus. And he's the one who Peter draws a sword and strikes his ear. And so he's like one of the Navy SEALs of the Hebrew people. Now they can't do anything. They're still under the oppression of Rome, but man, it's like they're waiting for, they're the guys that are ready to just jump out and start killing people. These guys are tough dudes, and getting into the temple guard is a big deal. These guys are zealous. These guys are like the Hebrews of Hebrews. They're like, I will kill people for God. That's who these people are. And they see this guy claiming to be God, Malchus. He sees this guy claiming to be God, or his followers. He's letting their followers believe that he's God. And these guys, they want to get a good punch in on him on the way into the temple. They're like, hey, maybe Pilate's going to kill him on a cross, but we're going to give him a good punch on the way, because this guy's screwing up our way of life. Someone say, we going somewhere. Not much different than the dad in the courtroom a couple weeks ago that whenever he was faced with the guy who molested his daughters, he goes and tries to go and freaking like punch him, and then the bailiffs take him down to the ground, and it's just a sad, sad thing, you know. The whole situation was just really sad. Well, that's Malchus. Malchus sees Jesus as a guy who's basically molesting his religion. Think of it that way. That's how Malchus sees this thing. He's like ticked at God. He's someone to say disgruntled. He's one of the 3Ds. One of the 3Ds is disgruntled. And that's Malchus. He's ticked. That's how he feels about Jesus. And he may have seen him teaching in the courts, and the things that Jesus would say would put all the Pharisees that were the top notch, I mean the smartest dudes in the world, he would confound those people, and they would walk away scratching their heads. And here's Malchus saying, could somebody do something? Shut this guy up. He's screwing everything up. He's ticked at Jesus. He's like, well, I'll just go punch him. Maybe I can't outriddle him, but I could punch him. You know, that's Malchus. And he's seeing him teach in the courts, and he's destroying our way of life, and he heals on the Sabbath, and he talks back to priests, and he touches lepers, and he brings that into our temple. Who is this guy? Why can't they just kill him already? If I get the chance, I'm going to freaking hit him so hard while no one's looking. While Caiaphas ain't looking, I'm going to break a rib. That's what I'm going to do. That's Malchus. This guy was on the lead team of the Pharisees. He loved God. He wanted to serve God with his talents, just like a police officer serves God with his talents to protect and serve. That's how he saw it. And he's trying to do a good thing. And justice is driving him. He says, that's not right. Justice drives him. That's his number one core value, is justice. So let's read it. Luke 22:47. While he's still speaking to his disciples about falling asleep during prayer, none of us do that, one of the crowd came up, and the man who was called Judas, one of the 12, was leading this crowd. And he approached Jesus and he kissed him. But Jesus asked, Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss? You can imagine this scene just unraveling, the betrayal that Jesus feels. Yet Jesus' followers saw what was going to happen, and they said, Lord, should we strike with the swords? And as they're asking this, Peter, the guy who doesn't ask questions, he shoots first and then asks questions later, grabs a sword and strikes one of the servants, which was Malchus, the high priest, cutting off his right ear. But Jesus answers, says, no more of this, Peter. And he touches the man's ear and he heals him. Then Jesus said with the chief priests and the officers and the guard and all the elders who come from him, he said, hey, am I leading a rebellion? There were a lot of rebellions going on that day. And many of them, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Risen, there's a bunch of like Judas Maccabean type rebellions. If you don't know that word, go Google it later. A bunch of rebellions trying to usurp against Rome. And this was a peaceful rebellion. This was a spiritual rebellion that eventually 300 later topples the whole Roman Empire. It's crazy. It's crazy. Without a shot fired. Topple the whole Roman Empire through ideologies. It's amazing. They didn't have to fight with swords. And he says this, he says, am I leading a rebellion that you have come to me with swords and clubs? Am I the kind of guy you have to beat down? Every day I was with you in the temple courts. You saw me. And you did not lay a hand on me then. But this is your hour when darkness reigns. And this is the sad moment, the beginning of the path to the cross. I love in the Passion, if you go back and watch this clip we had didn't go to the very end, but after Jesus touches him, Malchus is like freaking out. He's probably in shock. He's bleeding. He's like, oh my gosh, I've never had an appendage cut off of me, but I can only imagine what that feels like. You're like, oh man, that's not right. That doesn't feel good. That's not normal. I'm going to be the one-ear dude forever now, you know. And I don't know how Peter missed. I mean, he was a fisherman. He was not a swordsman. We'll just say that. And so he was really precise if he's trying to actually hit the ear. But Jesus heals him. And what's cool about this scene is this look on Malchus' face, you know, when Jesus is like, you know, like, hey, it's okay, buddy. You're going to be all right. No, he's not. But your ear is going to be okay. I'm going to die, but you're going to be okay. And he cares enough to like, I mean, there's all this crazy commotion going on. Jesus sits down and grabs an ear, and I don't know if it'd be hard to find in the dirt, but he found the ear, he puts it back on his head, and he heals heals his head. And at the end of the scene, what's really interesting is that Malchus, while everyone else drags him off, punching him like Malchus wanted to do, Malchus is just sitting there looking off as if his life is just intersected into something that he can't explain. His life just intersected with something wonderful, something of wonder, something he can't explain. And that begins to change everything for him. Changes everything. I love this. This is a guy who works for God, loves God, gave his talents to God. He's trying to do the right thing. And then we have Peter, who also loves God, but from the totally opposite end. And he knows that Jesus is God. Where Malchus says this guy is an imposter, Peter's like, this is the Christ, the Son of the living God. This is the real deal. This is the Messiah. And he loves God, and he also works for God, just like Malchus does. And he's giving his whole life to God. And he sees Malchus as this blasphemer, not Jesus. Jesus ain't the blasphemer. All these guys are going against God. Can't you see it? Don't you know you're doing what's wrong? This is the real deal. And he sees Malchus as the blasphemer, not Jesus. Peter is also driven by justice. Malchus is driven by justice. Peter is driven by justice. And this guy dares to touch the Son of the living God like that. He dares to come here and drag him away and tie him up and do things to him and speak mean things to him and bruise him over my freaking dead body. And he draws his sword. Now, honestly, guys, I would probably be a little bit more like Peter than Jesus here. I'd be grabbing my sword too. It used to drive me crazy that Batman wouldn't just kill Joker already. Anybody else? Anybody else? Oh, we're going to put you in this really faulty old prison that doesn't work, and you're going to get out and kill more people. If Batman would have just killed Joker in the first place, then he would be ended up saving thousands of lives in Gotham. Anybody with me? That's how I felt growing up. And I remember one of the very first movies I ever watched in the movie theater was the first Ninja Turtles. Anybody seen the first Ninja Turtles? Actually, the good one, you know, Casey Jones and all that, not the weird CGI things that Michael Bay makes with explosions and turns it into Shredder into Megatron. Not that one. Not that one. The actual real one. The real one back in the 80s. Anybody seen that one? You guys seen that? Okay, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so they're fighting Shredder up on the roof, man, and he's kicking everybody's butt. And then here comes Splinter, the bad little rat guy that he is. And he's awesome. He's a bad rat. All right, someone say he's a bad rat. He's really good at what he does. He's doing some kung fu. He's the one who trained Shredder. Anyway, Shredder dares to put his freaking spear in his face. Splinter's face. He's the guy, the rat. He's the dude that trained everybody in kung fu. You put your freaking spear in Splinter's face? You going down in Chinatown. And he comes running at him. Do you guys remember the scene? Comes running at him. And Splinter has the nunchucks and he goes like this and just wraps it around the spear. Splinter goes flying off the roof. Spinning camera angle. All right, now put the picture up. Okay, he's hanging off the roof there. You guys remember this scene? He's holding the two nunchucks. He's like, Shredder, don't do this, or whatever he says. Shredder's still so full of hate. I'm like, why are you saving this guy? He needs to die already. And it's still, he does what all the bad guys do. He reaches back, grabs a knife, throws it at Splinter, even though he's hanging there. Splinter lets go of the nunchuck, grabs a knife, and Shredder falls down. I was like, serves him right. He should have died in the first place. Anybody else feel that way? It's like, why are you working so hard to save this guy? I would have just been like, see ya, go to the trash compactor. I don't know about you guys, but there is a part in me, not the Jesus part of me, but there's a part in me that loves to see people get what they have coming to them. You don't look at me all holy, you Pharisees. Don't look at me like you don't like seeing things go down the way it's supposed to. Anybody here see The Punisher? Anybody see The Punisher? All right, so he's just doing his thing, man. He's just knocking down walls. His wife and kids have been killed. He's just trying to focus, trying to do his job. He's just knocking. And these guys, these punks, you guys know what I'm talking about, first 2 episodes, feel like it'll never end. You're like, do you know you're picking on the Punisher? You know his name is the Punisher? The Punisher. You're going to get punished. You know? Finally, he unleashes on them, and it's like, oh my gosh, yes. And everyone's like sipping on their Coke and eating their popcorn, like, yes, kill them in concrete so they'll never be found, says the pastor. There's something in me. Isn't there something in you that wants justice? You want to see something served. You're like, oh, I wish that dad would have got to that guy. I wish he would have got to that molester. I punched him really good, like 5 times. I wish the bailiffs would have been like, oh, I didn't see anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, just take him down. There's a part of me that wants that. Not the Jesus part. But there's a part of me. If you act like you don't know what I'm talking about, you guys seen 8 Mile, right? We love watching those little rap battles. You know, they throwing down. You know how I win? I just say less. Say less. That's how I win. I learned that a couple weeks ago. Anyway. No, we want to see them like, and everyone's like, oh, but here's this guy, you know, and he's just a little white dude, you know, and his palms are sweaty, his knees are weak, his arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already from his mom's spaghetti. He's just a little white dude. He's nervous. But on the surface, he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps forgetting. He keeps forgetting what he wrote down. And the whole crowd goes loud. He opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. And he's choking now. Everybody's joking now, and the clock's run out. And the time's up, over now. And we watch him go through all this stuff and say, at least I got a job, and that kind of stuff. At the end of the movie, palms are sweaty again. His arms are heavy. This time he gets up and he disses the dude and wins. And we're like, yes! Yes! Justice! You know what I'm talking about? We love justice. One time I was coming home. About to get real with you guys. About to get serious with you. I was coming home, Jones 622. I was walking up to the door, got my card out, swiped, when a loogie slapped the pavement beside me. Go to the elevator. 6, please. I go out. Look down. They're still cackling like little monkeys. Spirals. Slaps a dude right on the back. I walk away, go into my dorm, and lay down. And I had a great nap. I felt like a bad guy. A bad animal. That's what I felt. I watched until I saw it hit. Splat. I heard him scream. Oh, what the? I'm like, yeah, that's right. That's freaking right. You don't mess with Mikey Litton. You want to split? You want to spit on me? Oh, you're gonna get you some. You know what I'm saying? Justice. Someone say justice. We pick up these stones. We're like, oh, you're going to get it. You know what I'm talking about. That feels something like a tuning fork. Like the universe is in alignment whenever you're like, oh, I should have said, I got to go to bed. Oh, if I would have said that. Ooh, or it's like someone says something and it's like they leave themselves wide open and you think the perfect phrase and you're like, snack, yeah! But you keep it cool, you know. No vomit on your spaghetti on your sweater tonight. We pick up these stones. People who walk in a straight line at the mall, and they think for some reason that they got to walk like this. And they leave no way to get around them. And you got this stone in your hand of sarcasm, and you say, oh man, I love to walk across the whole way. I wish I could walk slow. I wish I didn't have nothing to do. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? Or the people who chew so loudly, you're like, I can't think of anything else. I don't know who's. Can I get a witness? Can I get a witness? Or leave their shoes. They walk and leave their shoes all over the living room and their purse over there. And there's a hook that's perfectly good right by the door. After I cleaned the clutter from the living room already. I'm not talking about Carrie. I just spent all this time cleaning that. Or people, you're driving up, you see a space at Walmart close to the doors, space between two cars, and you go to pull in, and there's a freaking shopping cart there. Somebody pick up a stone and say, glory. Good Lord, I'm about to lose my salvation. About to lose my salvation over you. Or when people unfriend you for having a different opinion and call you closed-minded. You're so closed-minded, I can't have anything to do with closed-minded people. Are you so closed-minded with me that you're going to unfriend me because I have a different opinion than you? Grab the stone. Just grab it. Just grab it. Just grab it. Come on, grab it. Devontae, you got your stone. Oh, come on. You know it's the wrong answer, but you know you want to. Matthew, I know you're not paying attention. Grab your stone. I know talking to Krim more important right now. Or while you're preaching a sermon and some guy talking to somebody else while you're trying to talk to him. No, I'm just joking. Chill. Someone say, shake that bush, preacher. There's more fruit up in that tree. So, what about, but it's not okay to throw stones at people that you know or don't know. But I will tell you who it's okay to throw stones at. Pharisee. It's totally fine to throw a stone at a TV preacher or a musician who does really bad things, or the lady on The View named Joy Behar who told Mike Pence, it's one thing to talk to Jesus, it's another thing for Jesus to talk to you. That's called a mental illness. See, grab that stone. Grab it. Come on, grab your stones. You got it? Oh, the View's already in my crosshairs, man. I got 5 arrows right here. I am freaking Hawkeye. I got one for each of you. You crazy ladies gone off the rails doing what God knows what's wrong with your mind. What's wrong with your mind, ladies? The View. Holy cow. Or whatever, Jenner. Don't know what to call them. It, thing, what? I don't know. Or Justin Bieber for being a little brat, you know. Or Benny Hinn. Benny Hinn, everyone's like, I got to rock for that guy. He's so fake. I mean, are you so sure? I mean, I don't know. But, he's so, he waves his hand, the whole crowd falls down. Oh, he's such a fake. Such a fake. Or Joel Osteen, he won't let people in his church during a hurricane. We have no idea all the things behind all that, but it's okay to throw stones at those guys, right? Oh, come on. I see your Facebook feeds. I see your Twitter retweets. Someone say, shake that bush now, preacher. I know you. This moment of the gavel waiting for someone to fail, and you see it and you say, oh, man, and you just cast that stone. Stones in our hands ready to throw. And yet, we're not bad people. I mean, I know you all. You guys are great. I'm a pretty nice guy myself. We just seem to have a different way of dealing with our enemies than God does. We see Malchus' justice-filled anger towards Jesus, and we see Peter's justice-filled response towards that anger. But then we see Jesus' kindness reach out and reach toward his enemy, toward the very one who wanted to kill him and everything that he stands for, and make fun of it and beat him and hit him. I don't know if you've ever been in a fight with your friends, but everything's fine, whenever you're wrestling. But when you get hit in the face, all bets are off. One time I was wrestling with my good friend. He's a little bit bigger than me, like a big guy. And I'm wrestling. I'm trying to put him into the scissor lock, right? I can't get my feet around him because he's a little bigger, right? And so I got short leg. I got monkey legs, right? Like really short legs. And I finally kick him around so I could kick it around and hook my foot so I could get him in the scissor lock, like squeeze him real good. But I can't quite get my feet to. And so boom, right in a bad place. It's a good place. It's just not a good place to hit. Nothing evil about it. It's just very natural. It's very normal. It's just that it's not a good place to hit. And this guy goes freaking bat nuts crazy on me. Goes crazy on me. And like, he's like wanting to like kill. Listen, when you get hit like in a physical way, it does something to you. Malchus is wanting to do that to me, and yet I instead reach out to him. I could have let his ear lay on the ground, no one would have thought a thing if I was like, okay, take me in. Sorry about you. Kind of got what you had coming to you. That's not Jesus, though. Jesus reaches out to his enemies. And this is crazy because this is the last healing miracle that we see from Jesus. His last healing miracle, the end of his healing ministry, was given to his enemy, not his friend, not his chosen 12, not the people that are a member of his church or had the card and had the sticker that said that they were in on the inside. It was given to the guy who hated him. Wow, would you look at that? I'm not here to shame Peter, and I'm not here to shame you or me or any of that. Hear me this tonight. I'm not here to shame any of us. Justice is a good thing, and misunderstanding the big picture of what God is up to a lot of times is par for the course for us who can't see the big picture. No, I'm here to point out and say, let's give the heavens more than a passing glance tonight. Let's look and see, and let's just look up and say, wow. Let's look at his response towards his enemies. Don't worry about yourself and your shortcomings and the people you have grudges with and how you messed it up and how you actually threw a stone. And I know your mind is thinking all about you right now, but let's let it be about him tonight, amen? Let's let it be about how good he is, not how bad you are. Don't worry about you for a second. Let's take a step outside of ourselves. Let's worship him. Let's think about him for a second. Don't worry how you did wrong or how that person you have a grudge against tonight. Not now. You can deal with that later, but not now. Instead, let's let this be about him. Let's let it be about the wow. Let's look up on his face with wonder. Let's look upon his attributes and his nature and his kindness towards his enemies. And let's look at that in wonder tonight. Who is God's enemy? Let's look at that. Let's look at that. James 4:4 says, you. Someone say, you. You got 3 fingers pointing back at yourself. Let's talk about you and me. Adulteresses. Now, here's the problem. Your mind is already stuck there and you can't get off of it. But I want you to hear this for a second. You adulteresses, do you not know that friendship with the ways of the world is actually hostility towards God? Therefore, whoever wishes to be a friend with the world makes himself an enemy of God. Well, there you go. There's your stone. You're an enemy of God. You're doing against God, then you're an enemy of God. You're an enemy. But how does God treat adulteresses? See, you got caught up in that word adulterer. Oh, man, I suck. Don't worry about you for a second. Time out. Don't worry about you. Look at him. He called you an adulteress. But let's look at how he treats adulteresses. And that's just people who cheat on God with sin. In the book of Hosea, Hosea the prophet, his wife keeps running off and prostituting herself and leaving her husband, her loving husband who'd done nothing wrong to her, didn't leave her needs unmet or nothing. She keeps going out after these dudes like we do when we cheat after God. But quit worrying about yourself. Stop it. Stop it. Think about him. Now, this is what God says to Hosea. He says, go. Show your love to your wife again. Though she is loved by another man and is an adulteress, here's God's view. Love her as the Lord loves the Israelites, which now we are grafted into that, by the way. Though they turn to other gods. And Hosea goes out and he gives her forgiveness. Again, she cheats on him. He gives forgiveness and buys her out of prostitution. She goes and does it again. He goes out and buys her again, and God comes after us again and again and again and again, and he leaves the 99 for the one. And this is what he says about the world. He says, you remember, he wants to be a friend of the world, makes himself an enemy of God. Well, what is this? What does he say about the world in John 3:16? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever, anybody, Malchus, Judas, anybody who believes in him will not perish but have everlasting life. That's how he treats adulteresses. That's how he treats us when we strike him. He heals our ear. If you aren't a believer tonight, you're his enemy now. And if you're a believer now, then you were his enemy before you were a believer. And this is what he's like. This is his nature towards his enemies. See, immediately when I said that you were his enemy, or you used to be his enemy, you get your fists up immediately like, oh, I guess it's a fight. But no, let's look at how he treats his enemies. Not how you or your mama or your daddy or your girlfriend or your ex-girlfriend or your ex-boyfriend or that other person that drives you crazy treats you. I'm talking about how God treats you. Romans 5:6 says, Christ died for the ungodly. Very rarely will anyone die for even a righteous guy, even the most upstanding citizen. It's like, dude, that's game over. Death is it. That's the ultimate price. Very rarely will anyone die for a righteous person, though for a good person, someone might possibly dare to die. But God demonstrates, meaning he put his money where his mouth was, his own love for us in this, that while we were still sinning, while we're still punching him, he's still reaching out in kindness. While we're still striking him and making fun of Christians and the people, his bride, the church, he's still loving on us. While we're doing all manner of evil against him, saying, he don't see it, he's not even real, he's still reaching out to us, leaving the 99 for the one. While we were God's enemies, it says in verse 10, we were reconciled to him through the death of his son, so that so much more, having been reconciled, shall be saved through his life. Amen? That's how God treats his enemies. Wow. Holy crap. Whoa. I want to see Shredder die. I want to see Joker die. I want to see Punisher take those dudes out. God wants to reach out and say, what's going on in your life? You punch him in the face, he's like, wow. Mikey, what's going on today? Strike him again. Stab him, wound him, put another nail through his hand. He's like, what's gotten into you, man? Are you all right? You seem like you're really having a hard day today. No, God, you don't understand. No, you have it rough, dude. He's sitting there hanging on the cross. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry you're going through all this. Oh my gosh, that's Isaiah 54:10. Though the mountains be shaken and the hills removed, God says, my unfailing love for you will not be shaking. There is nothing that can shake it. There's nothing that can change it. I'm going to love you. I'm going to protect you all the way to go into hell if you want to go there. I'm going to even protect your right to go to hell if you want to. I'm going to protect you. I'm going to do everything. My love will never end on you. You were created and my love is there, and there's nothing that will ever change my love for you. Nor my covenant of peace be removed, says the Lord, who has what? He has compassion on you. Joel 2:13, return to the Lord your God, for he is what? He's gracious and he's compassionate and he's slow to anger. We might know a lot of people that are fast to anger, but this guy's slow to anger and he's abounding in love and he relents from sending calamity. I don't want to send calamity. I don't want to have to spank my kids. I don't want to have to do this. This is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. Honestly, he had to go to a cross. It's going to hurt him more than it hurt you. He'd do anything to get you to not have to go through that pain. He's slow to that. Ephesians 2:7, he wants to show the incomparable riches of his grace to you. And it's expressed in his kindness. How do we know what kindness is? Kindness looks like Jesus. That's what kindness looks like. Stepping down and off of his throne and coming down into our world and putting on our skin and our troubles. And think about what Jesus had to become a baby and have his diaper changed. I don't want to have to depend on anybody like that. Jesus came down into our situation. That's kindness. Matthew 5:40, and he just did that so he could show us that he cares. He just did that so he could show us that he understands what you're going through. Matthew 5:44, but I tell you, this is the character of our God. Love your enemies. Pray for those who make fun of you, beat you. Luke 6:28, bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. Man, I just want to go right into, okay, so what are you going to do with this demonstration that God's given us? How are you going to, and I'm like, no, wait, not for Wander. Wander is a different sermon series altogether. We're not worried about us this 3 weeks. We're just going to look at him until Easter. We're going to look at him and his attributes. And if it changes you, then it changes you. But I don't want to talk about worship. I want us to worship. I want us to look at what he's like and say, wow, that's worship. Saying, wow. Every week we come in here and we're like, wow, God, whoa. Bless those who curse you. And you pray for those who mistreat you? I'm always praying, hope they get their own. No. Pray for those. Like, man, you don't know, Mikey, what they're going through right now. Pray for them. They're going through a hard time. Proverbs 25:21-22 says, if your enemy is hungry, give him food to eat. If he's thirsty, give him something to drink. That's the character of our God. 1 Corinthians 16:14 says, do everything in love. Wow. Would you look at that? Don't lose your sense of wonder tonight. Lord Jesus, we